Alright, I'm back working on this 2011 Cruze here today. It's a rainy day outside, so we got it pulled up into the garage here, and we've got a really easy job here replacing this valve cover gasket and these little rubber grommets that go on the bolts. So you really don't need a lot of tools here. You can use one of the external torque sockets, or you could use an 8mm. These aren't that tight. I've used both, other than the gasket and some sealant, which is kind of optional in itself, but a very easy job to do. Recently I just got the turbo feed line replaced, had a lot of oil leaking from there, so I'm starting to find other leaks. So we still got some oil burning, and it looks to me like it's coming from the front of the valve cover there, you know, dripping down on the exhaust. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, and here's our valve cover gasket. You can see the little rubber pieces in there for our bolts, and here is the part number. I got this from Amazon. It was $17 with tax altogether. So this is the 1.4 liter turbo. I've got a little bit of this I'm going to use. So it's kind of optional, but I like to use it. Okay, so we got the hood up here now. We're going to look down here, and you'll notice mine does not have the heat shield on it, which is probably even making it a little worse. But right down here, it's just slowly dripping and getting worse and worse. Down there at the bottom of that valve cover, it just goes right down on the exhaust. It's not just pouring out, but it is leaking, and it's starting to have a lot of burn off and stuff there. So very easy job of getting this out of the way they got this design. See a lot of people you know, just replacing these because it has the built-in PCV, and you can do that if you wish, but I'm not going to be doing that today, but we're just going to be getting the gasket. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Okay, so we're going to be using an E10 external Torx, and if you don't have one of these, you can use an 8mm. Seems to work just fine. Okay, and as a precaution, we're going to go ahead and pop this negative cable off right here. We're going to take a 10mm. We're going to get down there on that. You see this one right here. We're going to loosen that off and get this lifted up and off of here. Okay, so I just got a little 10mm. Go ahead and loosen this off a little. And you should be able to wiggle it off there. If not, you may have to get a little bit more rough with it. Okay, now the first thing I want to do is go ahead and pop this off of here. And it's just got little clips, little plastic clips there, so it should pop up and off there pretty easy. Okay, now while we're at it here, we'll probably go ahead. Now this connector got broken on mine, so I can't tell you how to disconnect that if you want to disconnect it, but I'm just going to pull it out with the connector on there. And we do have some wires going around the perimeter here, but they're really very easy to pop these up. So this is a very good design compared to some. So you can just pop those up and out of their places. And then this over here just lifts up. It's kind of got some little plastic hooks that go right on the front of this here, if you can see that. Let me get in here a little bit. It's just a little plastic hook there that goes over those, and then that will be freed up. Let's see, this is freed up, and so I mean that's pretty much all there is right there. Now before I get started on these going around here, I think I'm going to go ahead and get the Torx and get these coil packs out of the way. Okay, and we got a T30 here we're going to be using. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get these loose. And once you get it loose, you can just spin it on out of there the rest of the way by hand with your go ahead and get this other one here. Okay, so we got both of those T30s out of there. Now we should be able to just take and lift this completely up here. And just lay it kind of over to the side here, will be fine for now. Okay, you can see we got slack. We just pulled that over to the side. We've just popped these wires up and off of those places. This just pops off of there. So this is freed up. And now we're just going to go, we've got these inside, and then we got these just around. We're going to go around the perimeter and get all of these E10s loose. Okay, so now we're just getting in here and getting these E10s loose. So really you just got to get them loose, and then once it's loose you can just spin them the rest of the way. They're not going to come completely out, at least they shouldn't, to keep you from losing them. But you do got to get them loose enough to get the valve cover to come off of the head. And I have no problem taking mine to the car wash. You know, you got to be careful around your electronics. You know, unfasten your negative if you're really worried about it, but it's definitely not a bad idea to clean them off, and then you don't have to worry about so much stuff falling down into your spark plug wells and getting in your head and everything. This one's pretty clean, and I've also blowed it off with a little bit of air. So I'm just going to work my way around here and get all of these completely loose. And we'll go ahead and get this lifted off here. And you see, we didn't have to remove very much. This is a job very easy for you to do yourself, and it'll save you a lot of money. Said $17 for the gasket, and it's a Fel-Pro. I guess you've seen that. I like Fel-Pro. I've had a lot of luck with them. If I'm not using the OEM, I really do like Fel-Pro. They have done me right so far. So I usually, even if it's a little bit more, which in this case is really cheap, but even if they're more, I'll go ahead and get the Fel-Pro just for the peace of mind. So we about got them all loose here. Okay, when you have them loose, you should be able to pick that bolt up. It won't come out, but it should be able to lift up. You'll know you got the threads loose. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove this dipstick here. I'm just going to pull it out, set it aside. And now this thing can stick on here, and you have to be careful. You don't want to damage your cylinder head, but you can get under here with a little flat screwdriver, pry bar, you know, whatever it takes, but be very cautious. Don't damage your head where you're going to have problems with it sealing. But I've had this off previously, so mine is actually going to come off pretty easy. I doubt that you will get yours to lift off this easy. But you can see we just moved those wires back, and we've got plenty of room to lift this up now. And there we have it. And there is a look at your camshaft. And here is, now I'm not going to be cleaning this up. I'm just going to take this and wipe it off a little bit and slap the other gasket on here because it's clean oil. This is not dirty. So anyways, that is all there is to that, other than just wiping this surface down. I'm going to have a couple points here, and here. I'm going to put some RTV. I'll show you that. It just takes a little bit, and we're going to do that. After, we'll have to clean those two areas up a little bit. May even have to use some starter fluid or brake cleaner to get that clean so the silicone will adhere. Okay, and I'm just going to start with get you a clean rag, and be careful, don't sweep any of the debris in there, but I'm just going to go all around this perimeter and get this clean. And then as we get down here to this junction with the front cover, we will make sure we clean that with some brake cleaner or something, because that's where the RTV is going to be going. As I said, it's optional, but anytime, a rule of thumb for me, anytime there is a junction, I like to put RTV there. And usually they recommend it, but you know, it is optional. If you don't have any, I think you'll be just fine. This one didn't appear to have any there, and it wasn't leaking any worse, I will say, from that point. So that's good enough for that. Now I'm going to get some, I've got some starter fluid. I'm going to hit these areas right here real quick. Okay, now if you don't have any starter fluid, alcohol works pretty good too. Mainly just getting all the oils off that area. Now I'll have to do the same thing on the valve cover at that point right there. So we're going to go over here and get this gasket on now. Okay, so we're just going to take a little pick tool or use a screwdriver or whatever. Now I will say it's not a good idea to point this pick tool towards your fingers or hand, because it can do a lot of damage in a hurry. Don't ask how I know this. And I can really feel, just by the way that this gasket is feeling, that it's really old. You can just tell how the rubber just has no elasticity or anything anymore. And once it gets like that, it just doesn't seal. It's just barely keeping anything. So there that is. We'll get that thrown away. And I'm just going to wipe this down. The main thing is to make sure there's no debris in the little grooves here, and it'll be fine. the oil is not going to hurt it one bit. It actually helps it seal. So that's good enough for that. Okay, you pretty much can't get any easier with this gasket. It only go one way. You know, of course, the big wide part going down and the other part fits up into the groove, so you won't be able to fit it on there wrong. And this kind of, you don't want to stretch it a whole lot. Just get it into place and just push it down firmly. And it has little bumps on it to help hold it into the groove there. Okay, so we got the gasket. I'm going to go ahead and work on these bolts and see how difficult they are going to be to remove here. Okay, I just wanted to show you, I popped one of these out and I used, this is a spreader, and it just basically got up here and pushed one of these things out right up here. Popped this one out, but I was looking at this, the seal here, and it's got a flat seal. It's not the same as the ones that are in the kit, and this actually feels fine to me. The seal doesn't feel like it's brittle, and it is flat, so I don't really like the idea of changing that out. I don't really know that it's necessary right now because this seal feels pretty good, and I want to kind of keep it the same. These in here are rounded, and I'll probably wind up using these for something else anyways, but I don't think that it's leaking around this anyway. But if there is a problem, I can go back and pop them out. But this, like I said, this sleeve just pops up and out of there. So I'm going to put this back. I think that those are going to be fine. We're just going to go with the washers that are on there because it doesn't appear that it is taking any damage from the heat or anything. So we're just going to pop that back into place there. Okay, so I put the little dab of RTV there, and I also put one over here on this other side. Definitely get you some gloves. Gets real messy in a hurry on that part. Okay, so I'm going to get this in place without sliding it and making a big mess here, hopefully. And I've just got to pick these up and try to get it as close to in place at first as I can without sliding it around on that silicone. Sometimes you just can't avoid it. So that looks pretty close. So we're going to go ahead and just start running these down by hand. Definitely don't get any of them tight until you've had a chance to get them all started. You know, just start in the middle. And just kind of work your way out. So that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to go along here and run these down and make sure they're good and started, but they're not tight. This said, if I have any trouble with the bolts, which I seriously doubt that I'm going to, I just cannot see that leaking at that point. But if I do, then I can always put those little O-rings in there. But I really don't like them not being flat like they were originally. So I'm just going to go on around, continue just to snug these down here. Okay, now I've just got my 3/8 ratchet. I'm just going through and snugging them down just a little bit. Said don't get them real tight. Start in the middle. And just kind of work your way out. We're going to go ahead and put that dipstick back in too, so we're not running the risk of knocking anything else in there. So I'm just kind of snugging it down. I'm not using a lot of leverage here. Just kind of got my hand down here close to the ratcheting part. And then we're going to get our inch-pound torque wrench. If you do not have one of those, just kind of go by feel. The main thing is you don't want to get it real tight. The gasket's going to do its job. You don't have to just get real tight with these little bolts. These are not big bolts. You don't want to strip. You'd come more running the risk of stripping the aluminum threads out of the head before you would messing the bolt up. But it doesn't have to be that tight. You know, just get it kind of snug down just a little bit more if you don't have the inch-pound torque wrench. Okay, so we've got this set to 71 inch-pounds. You probably can't see that. It's blurry. We're going to just start with our center ones here. And you may have to go around this a couple times. It's not uncommon for these things to flex, and by the time you get done you have to come back and re-snug them. You know, just start middle and then just go in a crisscross pattern. That way hopefully the idea is that it flattens it out evenly, and work your way out to the end. And then we'll go back down the other way. Let's get this. So not uncommon to have to go over it several times though. And that, I just put a little dab of that RTV and it will gush out on you a little bit, but it'll be alright. Just try to keep your hands out of it. Okay, so we're just going to go back and double check them now. Okay, and these are actually good. Say one good thing about having an inch-pound torque wrench is it keeps you from stripping out threads and snapping off little bolts. And it is a nightmare, believe me. I've had to go and drill a size bigger on a valve cover for a valve cover and re-tap each and every one of them. It was not fun. Somebody had gotten them way too tight, and it was almost every single one of them stripped out. So there we have that. So we'll go ahead and just pop our coil packs down in here, and this is going to, luckily the coil packs themselves have some seals. They seal themselves as they go down in there, so it kept some of that oil out of there anyway. And I'm really not going to torque these, but if you wanted to, you could go 71 on them as well. I'm just going to snug these down. It's really just to hold it there. And I may not have it lined up here. There we go. See, that's plenty enough. Alright, so now we just need to pop our wires back into where they go. Clips in here and here. So I really like the design of this. Some of these can be really tedious, taking everything off. This is very simple, one of the more simple ones that I've seen as far as getting to this valve cover. This was previously taped on to this and the tape has come loose, but it's fine. So there we have that. That's snugged down. So our bolts are torqued. We'll just go ahead and get our cover snapped back into place here. It hits little spots. And there we have that. Okay, so now we just got to get over here and hook our battery back up, our negative, and we'll be finished up here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this back into place, and if you haven't cleaned your connector up, it's not a bad idea to take the time and do that. And there we have that. We'll just snap the cover back into place. Okay, so we're all finished up here. This took, you could do this in probably half an hour. I've probably been messing with it all together for, 45 minutes or so, or an hour. But you could probably do this in half an hour or less. It's a very easy job to do. The way this is made, I really like the setup. Once it quits raining, I think I'll take it and truly test it out. Idling, I don't know if it's gonna, but I don't expect I'm gonna have any leaks. I haven't seen one leak that I've replaced as of yet, but we'll let it quit raining and we'll take it for a test drive. But that's gonna do it for this video. Anyways, I'm just slowly hunting down the leaks. I know I've got some more on the oil pan under that area we're going to try to tackle next. So stay tuned. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, I invite you to subscribe. And I thank y'all for watching.